Should police officers who receive multiple public complaints be taken off the road? Well, according to multiple comments left on my videos, some people think that if a police officer has more than one public complaint filed against them, then they should be taken off the road. And I actually don't agree with that at all. Not only is more than one or multiple complaints not indicative of a bad police officer, but multiple complaints, it might be indicative of a good police officer doing their job. And I'm going to explain why. One of the things I learned early in my career is that cops are going to get complaints. It's normal. Good cops. Cops who are out there enforcing all kinds of laws, all kinds of acts such as Trespass of Property Act, so kicking people out of parks or malls, people engaging in prohibited activities on premises, so people who are doing something they shouldn't be doing, and especially cops who work in units which focus on road safety or traffic enforcement. So cops who write a lot of tickets. Just by some police officers being out there, doing their jobs, doing what they're sworn to do, will cause some people to complain. And before I move on, I'm talking about smaller complaints here. Complaints which primarily deal with the police officer's attitude. I'm not talking about criminal offenses. This should come as no surprise to anybody, but some people don't like being told what to do or being told that they can't do certain things. Maybe like so many people these days, it seems they grew up with a sense of entitlement, reinforced by their parents, by their family, and they think they can do whatever they want and not face the consequences. Listen, that may sound harsh, okay? But there's definitely a lot of people whose egos or their pride, they get hurt by receiving a ticket or a citation for doing something they shouldn't, something they know they shouldn't. They're in the wrong in terms of the reason for police stopping them and speaking to them in the first place, and they know they're in the wrong, but it no longer becomes about what they did wrong. It becomes about how the officer spoke to them. The cop was rude. They use a tone they didn't like. They say the officer belittled them in front of their friends or family just by getting a ticket. So then here comes a complaint. And listen, I mean, a complaint, it's a way of lessening the sting of getting a ticket. Somebody's pride or their ego was hurt. I'm not completely insensitive to the fact that there's obviously been cases where the police were in the wrong, okay? You don't have to be a trained investigator, have years of investigative experience to find all kinds of videos online about that sort of thing. Cops having their egos checked. But with the use of modern technology, body-worn cameras, it's been shown more often that the police are the ones who put up with being called or being belittled. And I love the fact that more and more body camera footage or footage from the inside of a police cruiser is being released to the public so people can see this firsthand, especially in high-profile cases involving people in positions of power or authority, and I hate using that term. They release a statement to the media accusing the officer of all kinds of things. And once the footage is made public, you can see the exact opposite is true, and that the officer actually had a valid reason for pulling him over to begin with, and they're the ones who were belittled. Can we all just admit that body-worn cameras keep everyone in check? I've mentioned before in a video that I had a complaint before body cameras, which was dismissed, but I still had to go through an entire investigation. If I had a body-worn camera at that time, it would have been dismissed immediately. Body-worn cameras, they're a good thing. And besides holding everybody to account, it also saves the taxpayer money. That brings me to another point I want to make, which is outside agencies investigating complaints against police officers. So as it stands, if a member of the public complains, it's not going to be a police officer from the same service, the same division, or the same precinct who investigates the complaint where it originated, which is a good thing. People are going to think I'm, not being entirely truthful here, even though I'm brutally honest in my videos. But I honestly hated it when complaints against police officers were handled internally. Now you don't go to the unit to complain and you have a superior officer take all the information down and initiate the process. It's all done by an outside agency. That means the cop's buddy, the person you're complaining against, isn't going to be investigating the complaint. It's a much more fair and impartial system for the public, but also for the police officer involved. What if the sergeant or the supervisor doesn't particularly care for the police officer? What if they're not part of the cool kids, that crowd, the police officers who all hang out together while off duty or they play sports together? I'd rather have somebody completely separate from the situation look into the matter, which is the way most police services are run nowadays. I can't speak for them all, but it's a good thing. So just by police officers doing their jobs, they're bound to get complaints. If you work in traffic enforcement, I'll give this as an example, and you give out hundreds or even thousands of tickets a cycle, you're obviously going to come into contact with more members of the public. And because You usually only come into contact with members of the public who were breaking laws or doing something wrong. They're pulled over. They're not going to be happy with the cop. So they might lay a complaint. When I was a teenager, I got a ticket. I was in the wrong, but I was pissed off at that cop for years. So multiple complaints doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad police officer. And if you took every cop off the road for having even one complaint to file, I think you'd be doing more harm than good to society. I always ask people to comment on my videos, and it's not just for engagement. This can be a sensitive topic, okay? A lot of my videos are on very sensitive topics that get people riled up. So listen, if you have anything to share, please do so. I read every single comment personally, and I respond when it's appropriate to do so. Thank you for watching this video. Be safe out there, look after one another, and I'll see you in the next video.